What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you an update to, of course, Dark Magician. Now this one has completely changed the play strategy on my previous build, and it is going to be giving you a couple of different options and different routes for where you would like to take this deck. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you do not miss out on any more upcoming content. If you want to see more Dark Magician variants or more play styles, duels, test hands with this particular build, then smash that like button and get it to at least 50 likes and I will do that for you. With all of that out of the way, let's take you through this updated profile. So the vanilla lineup is pretty much the same. 2 Dark Magician, 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon and 1 Dark Magician Girl. The rest is relatively same in the monster lineup as well, with the triple Magician Souls, but in this version we have gone with 2 Magician's Rod. Now why have we gone with 2 Magician's Rod? Well, the play strategy behind this particular deck is to dig for Red Eyes Fusion. Whether you're going first or whether you're going second, 9 times out of 10, getting Dragoon on the board can near enough guarantee you a win. Going second might actually be a little bit better for this deck, because if your opponent cannot stop it, you probably will win from that, because Goon's effect to just go, okay, destroy, burn, attack, is incredibly powerful. The only issue with going second with this particular deck is already your opponent will be able to set up alternative negates or alternative ways to stop your Dragoon from getting to the board, or stop the Dragoon from actually being able to resolve and inflict as much damage as possible. One of the biggest threats we do face is of course Ash Blossom, and I do show you a couple of different ways of dealing with that as we go through the profile. For the rituals, we do of course play 2 Illusion of Chaos alongside the 1 Soravis, and then finally we do play the 1 Flirdius the Knighted. Now the reason I've gone with the 1 Flirdius, or Flirderies, however you like to pronounce it, is for the pure fact that I still feel that whether you are just going to go turbo to get to the Red Eyes Fusion, or whether you are actually going to be going second, that this is going to be better than Ecclesia. Now the reason I say that is for the pure fact that whether you get this in your hand as discard fodder, whether you get it in the hand as an additional monster on the board, just imagine opening up Red Eyes Fusion plus Nadir's Servant will end your board on a, with 3 more cards in the hand as well, keep that in mind, will end the board on a Dragoon with the ability of Winder during your opponent's turn. Then you've got the ability of a Fleur to be dropped during your opponent's turn as well. So when it gets back around to your turn, you still have the ability to Fusion Summon. Whether you need to or not is a different story, because ultimately from that point your Dragoon will be 3,000, possibly 4,000 by the time it's negated something, and then you're going to be attacking for 3,000 with your Dogmatica. Not to mention that anything else you've set up or sent will then allow you to lead you into the ability of possibly getting into like a normal summon Rod is game. So that's kind of the route that I've gone with this, and I've really cut the Dogmatica engine down, because like I said, I've put in a 8-card engine or an 8-card kind of swap out, depending on the routes that you want to play to back up the Dragoon. So that's it for the monster lineup. Moving on to the hand trap lineup. Now this hand trap lineup is the lineup that is interchangeable, and what I mean by that is it depends on whether you want to go Goon control or if you want to maximize your ability to not only interrupt your opponent but also protect the fact that you want Red Eyes Fusion to resolve. So double Veiler, double Ash, double Imperm and double Crossout. Now the reason I've gone with this ratio is the pure fact it is, if I do go down the Verte route, our biggest threats on Verte are Imperm and Veiler. Our biggest threat to Red Eyes Fusion is Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So everything else, if you're going first, cannot stop Red Eyes Fusion. They can't Imperm your Red Eyes Fusion, they can't Veiler your Red Eyes Fusion, they can't even Ghost Belt it. So your only threat that you need to worry being dropped from your opponent's hand is going to be an Ash Blossom, which is why something like this is almost imperative to get to. Now, with this particular build, we are going to try and bait our opponent's hand trap out by obviously trying to activate Illusion of Chaos and try and bait it out that way, try and activate Preparation of Rites, and ultimately what we're trying to do is we're trying to dig to a Red Eyes Fusion backed up with one of these 3 cards. Backing it up with that will almost 100% guarantee you can get into Dragoon. Off the back as well, if you are playing Crossout Designator, keep in mind as well that it can deal with one of the biggest options that your opponent has to out your Dragoon. you can cross out a droplet, which is really, really important if they do not send a spell. Meaning to negate your Dragoon, which is only going to be one monster on the field, they need to send a monster so that the Dragoon can't negate the droplets. If they don't send a monster and they send a trap, for example, you're going to respond with Dragoon. If they do send a monster, they're not going to be able to send a spell because you're only going to have one monster on the field. So that's where you can go activate crossout, banish your droplets from your own deck, and that means that your Dragoon is still free and good to go through. Now this particular engine, if you go, you know what, I actually just want to go control, or if you're going to be going first in any of the duels, you can side this out and you can actually start putting in stuff like Gozen, or one of my favourites in a particular Dragoon turbo deck is Torrential. For the pure fact that unless your opponent droplets your Dragoon, Torrential is basically just a free Raigeki during your opponent's turn, which is really, really good. And the reason I've gone with Gozen over something like Summon Limit or main deck in the Secret Village is the pure fact that those two cards are useless going second, whereas Gozen, if your opponent cannot respond to it or they can't get rid of it, it can actually break a board apart, which is really, really important. So I've already shown you droplets and call by. You could play a third cross out if you wanted to, but I feel the mixture of two cross out and one call by works just as well. And keeping in mind that you're going to be able, the reason you're playing a lot of 2-ofs is because there is just a decent balance of hand traps that can disrupt you. There's no point in playing 3 Ash Blossoms. Your idea is not to turbo into your hand traps. You kind of want to bury them and not see them. You just want to see your cross out. How do we get to see our cross out, our Red Eyes Fusion, heck, even our call by on Nadir as consistent as possible? Well, I am playing triple Pot of Prosperity. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, whoa, hang on, what the hell are you doing? This turns off Souls and this turns off Soul Servant. Well, the idea behind this, like I said at the start, is that when you play your Red Eyes Fusion, unless you're going to activate Magician Souls in hand to send Dark Magician Gale as cost, and then send the Souls from your hand to the graveyard because you choose not to summon it, what's the point in that? Like, to do that, you're going to neg yourself so hard, whereas I would much rather activate Pot of Prosperity, try and bait out, it's another way to bait out my opponent's Ash Blossom. My extra deck is completely free. Like, the only cards I care about is the App Cologne, the Dragoon, and the Winder. Everything else is for follow-up plays or secondary plays that I may not need if I don't go, if I already keep the Dragoon on the board. So Prosperity gives you that ability to not only dig for a Red Eyes Fusion, but it can, of course, dig for a Nadir's Servant. It can dig for a Crossout Designator or a Call By if you are worried about that particular Ash Blossom. It can also dig down to anything else that you might need in order to finish off your combo or play the turn out. Like I said, if I open up Magician Souls, or if I've opened up a way to go Verte with no root of Red Eyes Fusion, then of course I'm not going to activate this. I'm going to send this off of Magician Souls as an additional draw. So I'm still able to draw for my power cards as much as I want, but it still also gives me the ability that if I am not able to utilize at max potential the Souls first turn, then I can go this route instead. Then of course we've got Triple Soul Servant. Now again, like I said, this is probably something you'll want to be using more during your opponent's turn. You can use it during your turn, so you can stack the cards so that you make sure you reveal it off your Pot of Prosperity, which can be relative sometimes, but keeping in mind the cards you're mainly going to want to stack are going to be Magician's Souls, Magician's Rod, anything to go through the Verte route, which will then limit your draw power off the back of that. So what you kind of want to be doing is you want to be setting this during your opponent's turn, activate it during your opponent's turn to make sure your draw for turn will be the exact card you need. Keeping in mind as well that if you've already gone through let's say you've done Pot of Prosperity as your first turn play, you've got Dragoon set up on the board, you then set the Soul Servant, activate the Soul Servant, the ideal thing that you're then searching for is going to be your combo pieces of Magician's Souls or Magician's Rod, which will then lead into a Verte and either a second Dragoon or of course a Magicalized Fusion route for the Dark Magicians if you wanted to play that way. We then got with Triple Preparation of Rites for the pure fact that, again, this is a bait out for an Ash Blossom and so is an Illusion of Chaos. The better players probably aren't going to stop those, but also keep in mind as well, this can get you Saravas. So even if you activate this and your opponent's like, yeah, whatever, he's only going to get for Illusion of Chaos, I'll stop that. You go for a Saravas, that then means that your full route to Verte is completely protected from Imperm or Veiler, which is really, really important because it will kind of abuses the fact that unless your opponent knows you've got Saravas and they feel that your only way to play is to go through a Verte route, then they'll probably Ash this. But if they don't, they'll let this go through. If you've already got Illusion of Chaos, you're good to go. If you've already got your Rod plus Souls to get you into Verte, then you go straight for a Saravas anyway. And then at that point, they kind of go, yeah, I've probably screwed up. Because then at the base minimum, if you're worried about Ghost Ogre or anything like that, you could just go Magician Souls in hand, send and summon itself. Normal summon Rod, no effect. Link into Verte, Verte's effect. Then all you're worried about there that is going to stop your plays is going to be a Veiler or an Imperm, and that's where Saravas comes into play. Now, obviously, if they open up both, what are you going to do? But like I've said, the whole idea of this is to get your Dragoon as early and as consistently as you possibly can. That being said, I'm probably going to get shouted at for this, but I've only got 2 Red Eyes Fusion. Now, before you scream at me, let me explain. Yes, you can play 3 Red Eyes Fusion. That is completely fine. The reason that I'm still stuck on the fence with going from 2 or 3 is the pure fact that in this particular build, I'm trying to turbo into Dragoon. So yes, I want to see Red Eyes as soon as I possibly can. However, if I see multiple Red Eyes Fusions in my hand, that is taking away a spot that could be a hand trap, that could be Called by the Grave, that could be a Prosperity. It could be a more consistent card that will allow me to protect the Red Eyes Fusion. Yes, I can play 3, and I understand everyone else's argument that's kind of like, well, if you play 3, you just send it with Souls. That is true. But if I'm not going to be summoning Souls that particular turn because I've activated Red Eyes Fusion, I actually rather have a way of stopping hand traps to get through my Verte plays or to activate Red Eyes Fusion and know that it's protected from being ashed than opening up multiple copies of it. In the later stages, yes, if I've got Magician Souls, great. But a top deck of a Red Eyes Fusion is worse than a top deck of a Magical Eyes Fusion in the later game state. If I've already sent Red Eyes from deck to the graveyard, everything after that point is completely dead. I did highly consider that if I was to play a 3rd Red Eyes Fusion, that I might even consider playing a 2nd Red Eyes, just so that I could turbo that out, get to what I need to. But that, of course, would increase the consistency of adding or drawing into an additional brick that I do not want. It is not something that I'm saying, if you like this build, you can't play it if you want to put 3 Red Eyes Fusion in. Not at all. If you want to put 3 Red Eyes Fusion in, by all means, put it straight in. I am still to have to miss that 3rd copy of Red Eyes Fusion. If I feel that I am missing that 3rd copy of Red Eyes Fusion, and off of the back of a Prosperity and Red Eyes Fusion, I'm still not seeing it, then there's an issue that I need to change. However, at the moment, the combination of Prosperity with Red Eyes Fusion is working out amazing, because what I am doing is I am maximizing my opportunity to get into a blocker for Ash Blossom, cross out Designator and Call by the Grave, or a bait out for Ash Blossom in the form of Prosperity itself or Preparation of Rites, in order to then get the Red Eyes Fusion. Like I said, going first, there is only one card we fear, and that is Ash Blossom. The second our opponent activates an Ash Blossom, we do not care. We go ham, we activate that Red Eyes Fusion, we make that Dragoon, we either set our back row or we set up our hand traps and deal with everything they have to throw at us. I also reiterate the fact that, with the power of Nadir's Servant, possibly Dark Magical Circle if you set up the Eternal Soul plus Dark Magical Circle play, we have so many power plays that a Dragoon plus Nadir's Servant, 99.999% of the time, your opponent loses that game. They cannot play through a Dragoon Negate and a Winder unless you make a massive mess up, or they open up something like Cosmic Cyclone, or well, 2 Cosmic Cyclones to get around the Negate of Dragoon and then deal with the back row as well. The final 2 cards are the 1 Eternal Soul and the 1 Shadow Schism. Like I said, I've minimised the Dogmatic package as much as I possibly can. You've got the ability of Illusion of Chaos to put any of your 1-card bricks back to the top of the deck, should you need to, and then be able to continue your plays from there. So that's it for the main deck. You can bump it up a little bit if you wanted to as well. But like I said, I'm aiming to consistently get to Red Eyes Fusion without flooding my hand in order to get to Dragoon. Then moving on to the extra deck, of course, the most important cards are 2 Dragoons. You will probably 9 times out of 10 make this with Red Eyes Fusion and then follow up with a Magical Eyes Fusion. It is the best way of doing it. It does give you as much possibilities you can get. I've then got double Winder and the 1 App Clone, and the reason I've gone with this is for the pure fact that, again, like I stated in my regional profile, no one expects a second Winder. They will destroy the Winder. Now, the only way they get around this is if they destroy the Winder and then destroy the Schism. But if they only destroy one, whether it be the Schism, you go absolutely fine. You then get rid of the window during your turn, bring the Schism back, set that up. You've already got route to a second window if you can't win the game that particular turn. If you can, you just send it off a Souls and you get a free draw. Nice and easy. The other card that I've got in here is the Predaplant Chimera Flesia. Now, the reason that you would actually choose to send this rather than the Shaddoll package is for the pure fact that you're like, right, okay, well, maybe my opponent is playing something like Flunders and the Shaddoll package is completely dead. So you send this instead. What that will allow you to do is that then backs up your plays. So you'll then ideally, at that particular point, have a Dragoon, plus you'll have a Fleur de Lis in the hand, and then you'd be sending the Chimera Flesia to search you out either a second Red Eyes Fusion if you played a second Red Eyes, or you would search out your Magical Eyes Fusion for the next turn. So you're basically saying to your opponent, sure, you get rid of my Dragoon, I'm just going to make another one. We've also got Natis that could be sent off of Nadir's Servant as an interruption. Again, like I said, everything after the Shaddoll cards is basically free real estate. You can do whatever you want with it. So for the Link monsters, we've got the 1 Unduct, just because, alongside the 1 Artemis. Now these are just your old school routes into Verte. So we are playing double Verte. I did consider like Extrav. Like I feel Extrav would probably be better in this deck if you had 3 Dragoons and you can guarantee you wouldn't banish all 3 of them. It is very, very risky because Dragoon is your win con, which is why I went with Prosperity over that one. Double Verte, and like I said, your Prosperity target is cool. 1 Winder, or keep all of that. 1 Predaplant, 1 Natis, 1 Verte, if not 2 Vertes. Artemis, if you don't need it in the later game. The Unduct, if you don't feel that you're going to need it in the later game as well. And then, of course, you've got your Link 2 of the Dark. It is so, so good. Love this card completely. And the best thing, like I've said before as well, Schism can out a DPE because it sends it to the graveyard. Beautiful. And then Diark can steal that DPE and then help itself link climb into a Selene, which can then help itself link climb into an access code. It is nice, beautiful synergy from 1 to 4. Very, very nice. The final card, of course, is a Unicorn. Just gives you an alternative route to Selene. Now, obviously, it's not going to give you a direct route into Access Code. You will need an additional card to do it. But sometimes Unicorn can come up and put in a lot of work in order to get you to where you need to get. That being said, I would still keep the Vertes in there for your routes to Magical Eyes Fusion, or, of course, Red Eyes Fusion. But your other ways are just completely flexible. It's entirely up to you on what you want to do. Mainly these cards here, they can be dropped. If you don't like this, the Deer package, cut these. But I personally think you're mad. Like I said, you can still activate Nadir after you've activated Red Eyes Fusion because you search the card. You don't have to special anything. So being able to get into a 1-card window is beyond mad. And backing that up with the Dragoon, considering the Dragoon's going to have a negate, is crazy. And then when you get into the side deck and you're playing stuff like Secret Village of the Spellcasters, so your opponent cannot Dark Ruler you, they can't Drop It you, they can't Duster you, they can't Cosmic you, then ultimately all Dragoon is doing is sitting there going, well, when you put a monster effect down that will threaten me, I'm going to get rid of it. And then once you special summon a monster out that is going to threaten me, my Winder's going to deal with it and lock you down. So they need to open up the absolute nuts in order to stop that particular lockout. And that's where the side deck comes in and makes it even more important. Because like I said, if you're guaranteed to go first, you might want to keep the Ash Blossoms and the Crossouts in. But then that's where you can start putting in Torrentials, Gozens, IDPs, Secret Village of the Spellcasters, and basically say to your opponent, no. And that is how the control version of this deck works. You can also put in Lord of Heavenly Prisons if you really, really wanted to, but to be completely honest, I don't think you need to. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this has given you a different option on the deck. I'm still undecided if this is the best version for the deck. It doesn't particularly suit my playstyle. Like, I quite like the combo orientation that I had with the Diviner as well, which has obviously been my most successful, but I still felt that a version like this, playing the Pot of Prosperity, giving it a different angle, giving it a different route, was interesting to trial out and see how it goes. And like I said, through past experience right now, it is so difficult for someone to deal with a Dragoon, especially if you go Dragoon turn 1 and then turn 2 you can threaten into a second Dragoon, or you can use your Dragoon and then your Souls combo that would usually go into Verte ultimately ends up getting you into Dark, which gets you into Selene, which gets you into Access Code. So you're then just backing up your board with a Dragoon and an Access Code. Like, what's not to win with that? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.
You